Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a full-on class mod tier list. I've got every single class mod in the game organized by character, and we're going to be ranking all of them. This is going to be a pretty long video, so get a cup of coffee and settle in. Before we get into this video, if you guys could please drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Borderlands 3 videos, I would really appreciate it. And with that being said, let's get into it. Now, let's talk about how we're going to be ranking these class mods. So, for example, and we're obviously going like, S tier, A tier, B tier, C, and then I went ahead and skipped to F for all the class mods that we hate. And yeah, so basically how we're going to be ranking these is A tier is kind of going to be our benchmark spot for like really freaking good class mods, but S tier are going to be the game-changing class mods. And this will be really obvious as we get into it. Now, a really good class mod could have like a really cool, good build centered around it, but it's not necessarily super game changing. Like, I feel like class mods will obviously be set apart once we get into this, and this is just gonna be a long video, like I said. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and start. We're gonna be starting with Amara. Now, I do have to warn you guys, my knowledge of Amara is pretty limited. She is my least played Vault Hunter, so this is gonna be the lowest quality portion of this video, is the Amara class mods, because I honestly kind of don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Amara class mods. But I have played this game enough and have watched enough Borderlands content to kind of know where to rank them. So let's go ahead and just start. So the Nimbus class mod from Amara. Whenever Amara damages an enemy with her action skill, she creates a damaging cloud of essentially dot damage. Now this is a very, very cool class mod. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in B tier. I'm pretty sure this is the class mod that you can hold on to an ion cannon, which has insane dot damage, shoot Amara's action skill at an enemy, and you can do crazy things with it. So if you didn't know, but the Nimbus actually inherits the dot damage of the weapon you're holding. So the ion cannon, for example, has the highest dot damage in the game because it's the highest damaging gun in the game. Actually, I think the plasma coil might be a little bit better nowadays, but I remember watching a Moxie video where he held an ion cannon and did true mellow on takedown with just his action skill. Good times. Good old times. Let's go ahead and move on. The Golden Rule class mod for Amara, I'm actually going to rank this as A tier. On my very limited playtime with Amara, I think I have played with the Golden Rule the most, or the second most. What the Golden Rule does is whenever Amara is damaged by an enemy, she gets action skill cooldown rate. As well as this class mod being able to roll Laid Bare on it. Laid Bare for Amara is essentially a debuff, so whenever enemies are damaged by Amara's action skill, they take more damage just in general. It's like a debuff, it's like a P grenade. So this is a really, really cool class mod. I'm gonna put it in A tier because you can make some really cool, unique, strong action skill builds with this class mod, but it is not game changing. And that's our first example of an A tier class mod. And let's go ahead and move on. Next, we've got the Phase Zerker. I'm just gonna plop this right in S tier. This is Amara's most versatile and used class mod by Amara players. I am like 99% sure that this is probably Amara's most used class mod by Amara players because it is just that good. The skills on the top don't really matter, but the ability is where it's at. Amara gains her max rush stacks immediately whenever she uses her action skill, I believe. I'm not too familiar with the text. But it also gives her tons of gun damage, tons of action skill cooldown rate, which is super important. And it just essentially fuels her whole blue tree, which is her rush stack tree. And it's kind of like the Sea and Dead for Zayn, where it negates having to build up rush stacks and instead just injects them immediately, as well as giving what, like 75% gun damage and a ton of action skill cooldown rate. This class mod is game changing for Amara, the Phase Zerker, S tier. Next, we've got the Muse class mod. This is where things start to get dicey on my Amara knowledge. This is one of her melee class mods. I don't know whether this is worth an S tier slot. I think I'm gonna put it in A tier personally. This is probably her strongest melee class mod. Weirdly enough though, this is due to kind of a bug because as you can see, one of the skills on it is Illuminated Fist. You can roll up to 3 points in Illuminated Fist in the current state of the game, but I would consider that a bug, so I don't really wanna rank it based on what is a bug because class mods aren't supposed to roll more than as many points as the skill can have. So I'm gonna put it at A tier, and also the ability of it is very cool, and it does do some pretty decent damage. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the stone. I'm gonna rate this at B tier. Now, the stone class mod is actually very, very cool. What it does is whenever Amara is damaged, she gains stacks of rush, and she also gains damage reduction. And I believe it also increases her rush stacks. Now, what's really cool about this class mod is you can roll, what is her skill called? I don't know Amara's skills, but it is the one skill that gives you a ton of action skill damage. So the stone class mod is very unique and can actually, if you fully build around it, you can make a really cool action skill build with tons of damage reduction. So you aren't really taking a lot of damage. This class mod, I believe, can give you like insane amounts of damage reduction. Like normally damage reduction is not really good in this game because enemies just hurl so much damage at you that you really want lifesteal over damage reduction. But the stone makes it so you can feel the damage reduction. And the fact that it can do that, in my opinion, makes it very, very powerful. I think it's a little bit underrated, but I also don't think it's quite A tier. I do think it's a bit B tier. Next, moving on to the Kensai class mod. I'm gonna rate this at A tier. What this class mod does is when Amara activates her action skill, she gets 10% bonus melee damage for 6 seconds. Now, once again, this class mod is slightly underrated in my opinion. This is a serious damage increase, especially because this gets mayhem scaling. So it's actually like 160% bonus damage, which I think should be used for bossing. You might as well just use this strictly for bossing. I'm sure you can come up with some cool mobbing builds. Now, the sucky part about this is it's not real melee damage. It's kind of like amp damage that is based off your melee damage and gets melee bonuses, but it does not trigger white elephants. It does not trigger cut purse, which really, really sucks in my opinion. This would have been easily an S tier class mod if it could trigger the melee artifacts in the game and just melee in general in the game. But it's essentially just kind of an amp damage class mod. I think it's a bit underrated because people say it sucks because it doesn't trigger the melee items. But at the same time, like it's just an insane damage increase. So we got to give it an A tier. Next, we have the Elementalist class mod. Whenever Amara phase grasps an enemy, her action skill element is applied to all nearby enemies as a dot. Now, unfortunately, dot damage at Mayhem 10 in Borderlands 3 is not that great. And on top of that, the skills on here are, you know, whatever. We're gonna go ahead and give this our first F tier class mod. I'm sure you could use this in a build, you know, some of you are like, no, not my Elementalist, but we're giving it an F tier. This class mod is just not good enough for endgame content. And I guess I should have mentioned, you know, we're talking about endgame because anything works in the early game. So yeah. Next, we've got the Spiritual Driver class mod. We're gonna go ahead and give this another A tier. In my opinion, the Kensai is just easier to use. The Spiritual Driver, what this is essentially violent momentum for Amara. The faster she's moving, the more damage she does. Now this is gun damage. This is a pretty big damage increase for Amara. But this is just an A tier class mod in my opinion. It's not quite S tier. It's not quite as good as the phase Zerker. And it's kind of just a damage increase. It doesn't really help her action skill cooldown or anything like that. And activating Amara's action skill a bunch of times is pretty important for her in my opinion. So this is just a big damage increase, which is pretty much what the Kensai does as well. So I rate them the same. Next, we're gonna talk about the Dragon. Now the Dragon, I'm gonna rank as B tier. I think, well, this is just another melee class mod for Amara. Now, like I said, this is where my Amara knowledge really shows. I don't even know if this is better or worse than the Muse. I'm currently under the impression that the Muse is probably just a better melee class mod for Amara, but I could be wrong. Tell me in the comment section down below. I don't really care about Amara knowledge in this game. We're just gonna move on. All right, we're on Zayn. Now, this is where we get to go over the Zayn class mod. So, you know, most of these are gonna be F tier, and then we're gonna have a couple S tier, because that's how Zayn class mods go. First up is the Shockerator. What this does is give Zayn's digiclone the binary system augment, and it whenever Zayn's clone is meleeed, he creates a shock nova. Now, this is F tier for 2 reasons. Number 1, the augment it gives is pretty trash. No one ever uses this augment in endgame content. Number 2, the melee nova that the clone creates is trash. It doesn't get action skill, or it doesn't get mayhem scaling. It doesn't do anything on Mayhem 10. Number 3, the skill rolls on it are pretty trash. It has Duct Tape mod, which is a good skill, but you only need 1 point in Duct Tape mod, which you can just spend in your own skill tree. It has Pocket Full of Grenades, and it has Best Served Cold. F tier. Next, we've got the ThiccFilA. F tier. The ability of the ThiccFilA is 35% chance now to recharge Sentinel's cooldown and duration. Zayn can do this in his skill tree with Calm, Cool, Collected, or Good Misfortune. Both of these skills are just better than the ThiccFilA class mod's ability, and the 3 skill rules on the ThiccFilA: Ready for Action, Really Expensive Jacket, and Rise to the Occasion. Trash skills. Okay, Ready for Action. Yeah, I mean, they're okay skills, but they're F tier. Anyways, the Infiltrator class mod for Zayn. I am gonna give this a B rating. You can do some pretty cool things with the Infiltrator class mod now. They reworked the ability of this to work like the action skill start anointment. So it actually fills your shield and then empties it, meaning you can use Nova shields. You can even use Stopgap on Zayn with just the Infiltrator. You can abuse the Stopgap shield. You can use a bunch of, like basically anything action skill start is good with. But with that being said, it's actually just better to use the Spy class mod on Zayn and the actual action skill start anointment. The Infiltrator, even though they reworked it to work like the action skill start anointment, it's actually better to use a different class mod and the actual action skill start anointment. I said that like 4 times. It's like a tongue twister. Jesus. But yeah, so we're gonna rank this as B tier. With that being said, it's still pretty powerful and pretty cool, and there are some other cool things you can do with it. And yeah. Alrighty, next, the Hustler class mod for Zayn. I am gonna rank this at a C tier. This is a very bad class mod. I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, but Thick, look at Moxie's Ricochet Wizard Zayn build. It's so powerful. It can do all endgame content. Blah, 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 frickin' blah. Okay, cool. The Hustler class mod works with like 2 guns in the game, the Recursion and the Root. And guess what? You can pretty much actually use the Recursion on Zayn with just a See Undead, and you can use a Root on Zayn with any class mod because the Root is just broken. So I'm sorry, but the Hustler class mod is a C tier. Honestly, the only reason I'm putting it in C tier instead of F tier is because it can actually work with a couple guns in the game. That's literally the only reason I gave it not an F tier. The skills on it are pretty bad. The only good skill on it is Brain Freeze, which freezes enemies when you score critical hits. This class mod would be really awesome and a standout class mod from the DLC if it could roll something like Calm, Cool, and Collected, which would be insane. But instead, it rolls Like a Ghost and Adrenaline or something. I don't even remember because it's bad. The only good skill on it is Brain Freeze, so C tier. Next, we have the Spy. This is our first S tier class mod for Zayn. The Spy, you know what? We're gonna pull up the See Undead as well. The See Undead is another S tier class mod. Now, these class mods go hand in hand for Zayn. If you're using one of these class mods, you can use pretty much any gun in the game and get away with it. Except for the really, really, really bad guns. But like, you can use like C tier guns, even like B tier, C tier guns, yeah. And you can get away with doing actual true takedown modes in Maliwan and potentially Guardian, although Guardian's a little bit tougher. But these class mods are insane. They're interchangeable, where the See Undead is better for Fight for Your Life, chaining weapons, and there's another situation where the See Undead's actually better that I am currently forgetting. But the Spy is better at stacking commitment via your Mantis Cannon, where it's better for action skill start anointments over the Infiltrator. It's better for Meteor chucking, and it's better for like snipers or any weapon that doesn't chain. This is going to give you the most commitment stacks when you're not chaining weapons, and this is going to give you the most commitment stacks when you are chaining weapons, and it has Fight for Your Life damage. So both of these are S tier. They're actually pretty equal in my opinion, where some of them are better in like different circumstances than others. And yeah, that's, yeah. Oh, that's tier. Let's go. The Antifreeze class mod. I'm going to rate this at B tier along with the Infiltrator. Now, the Antifreeze class mod is only good because it can roll Violent Momentum on it. Now, it's also pretty cool. You get 100% movement speed while cryoed. So when you're cryoed, you actually run faster than if you were not cryoed, which is pretty freaking cool. With that being said, though, I have tried this in multiple builds. Like the Zayn Nukem build where I was using like Cold Bore and Duct Tape mod to actually cryo myself. so that I could run faster. And even though we get all the extra damage from Violent Momentum, for some reason I just get better damage, or more consistent damage, I should say, out of the Spy and Seeing Dead. It's a little bit sad for me. I wish the Antifreeze class mod was a little bit better. I would rate it A tier, but in my opinion, it really is just a B tier class mod. It's, even though you get all that extra Violent Momentum damage, it's just not as consistent for some reason. And honestly, I don't understand why, because all the math, in my opinion, I feel like it should be better, but I don't know. Next, we have the Executor class mod. This is another, I think it's a B tier class mod. I think I'm gonna rate it as A tier now that the Mantis Cannon exists, because if you use the Executor class mod, this is actually the strongest Mantis Cannon damage build class mod. If you want to do a full-on Mantis Cannon build, the Executor actually lets you get the most damage possible out of your Mantis Cannon, and that's because Mantis Cannon gets your crit bonuses. The Executor class mod for Zayn gives him a load of like accuracy, handling, status effect damage and chance and stuff like that. But what's awesome about this class mod is it gives, I think, 75% crit damage base, and then over 100% when you have Death Follows Close and See in Red, which is really, really awesome. You can get over 100% crit damage on a Zayn class mod, and it can apply to his Mantis Cannon as well. Honestly, I think the Antifreeze technically provides more damage overall, but the fact that you can get an entire Mantis Cannon build around this, I want to rate it a little bit higher, and it's just a really, really cool class mod to use now. Next, we have the Cold Warrior. The ability is trash, and the skills are trash. Whenever Zayn freezes an enemy, a random status effect is applied to them. What did we talk about when we mentioned the Elementalist class mod? Status effects are not powerful in this game. On top of that, Ready for Action, Trick of the Light, Synchronicity, these skills on Zayn are not very strong, so this class mod essentially just does nothing for endgame content. Next, let's talk about the Conductor class mod. Now, this class mod's very, very cool. It gives you a ton of action skill uptime, and it's pretty cool for Calm Cool Collected builds. With that being said, Calm Cool Collected builds are not very powerful. And even though this class mod can give you up to 100% shock damage, usually it gives you a little bit less, around the range of 75 to 100% bonus shock damage. The only reason I'm rating this at B tier is because this damage can apply to Zayn's drone and his Mantis Cannon. So that's pretty cool. But it doesn't do much else, and it's really not that powerful in my opinion. And we're just gonna kind of put it at B tier because it's pretty cool. Honestly, I'm gonna move it down to C. Alrighty, we are on to the Flak class mod. So Flak, I have some okay knowledge with Flak, as well as some okay knowledge with Moze. I might lack some knowledge in the Flak and Moze sections, and just let me know in the comment section down below. But I have a pretty good idea of what everything does, and I think we can rate them, you know, pretty decently. First up is the Red Fang class mod. We are going to put this at S tier. This is absolutely game-changing for Flak. While Gamma Burst is active, Flak's pet will taunt all enemies, making them only focus on your pet. You will take 0 damage while you are using this class mod, and Gamma Burst is active. And on top of that, when Gamma Burst is active, your pet cannot die. So it is actually a hard lock where you take 0 damage, and you can also solo the Guardian takedown crystals, or you can AFK them almost, because none of the Guardians will come in the crystal. They will go towards your pet, and you Gamma Burst across the map. All the Guardians will run to your pet. They won't touch your crystals. It's perfect. It's amazing. It's absolutely game-changing. This class mod is so powerful. And on top of that, the skills on it aren't half bad. You know, He Bites works very well with Frenzy. Yop is pretty cool. And, all right, we're not going to talk about the skills. That's where my knowledge starts to lack. Next, we've got the Stackbot class mod. This class mod for me is between A tier and S tier. This class mod provides up to 500% gun damage. Basically, whenever Flak scores a critical hit, they stack damage. And whenever they do not score, like whenever they score a body shot, their stacks reset. So you can get up to 500% bonus critical hit damage, and you can do some pretty cool things with this, like Punch Bot, which the Face Puncher does not reset your Stack Bot. So you can stack up your Stack Bot, swap to a Face Puncher, and keep the max bonus forever. It's pretty cool. On top of that, the skills on the Stackbot aren't half bad, but with that being said, it is pretty narrow. You have to build really hard into this class mod, but once you do, and if you do, the payoff is there, so I'm kind of not sure. I kind of want to leave it at A tier because you have to build so hard around it, It's not very versatile, but it is game-changing. So that's why I'm kind of torn whether this is S tier or A tier. I think I'm going to leave it down at A tier because, yeah, why not? Anyways, next we've got the Commandlet, otherwise known as the Cumlet. This is the new purple class mod for Flak's purple skill tree, which is known as his worst skill tree and his new worst class mod. Number one, this class mod is very bugged. If you put this class mod on, it will look like your pet is having seizures and it just completely bugs out and like targets himself and some weird shit. And this class mod doesn't work very well. With that being said, even if the bug was fixed, and this class mod automatically triggered Flak's pet command, there is still some anti-synergy where this doesn't actually reset the cooldown of your pet command, which it definitely should. You cannot trigger your pet command more than once every single cooldown, even with this class mod. So that makes it like why? It essentially just makes it so you don't have to press your own attack command button. On top of that, the skills on it are very, very poor. It has the capstone from the purple tree, which isn't that good. It has the 5th row purple skill on the right, which is not good. And then it also does have fuzzy math, which is a good skill, but I don't know how many points we actually need into fuzzy math. If this had some better skills on the top from the purple skill tree, like Throat Ripper, then I think it would be a lot better. So yeah, F tier. Next, we've got the Bounty Hunter class mod. This is absolutely an S tier class mod for Flak. The skills on the top give you huge damage increases because they're very good skills in his skill tree. On top of that, the ability is insane. Whenever Flak shoots a boss, he has a 3% chance to just activate all of his kill skills. This is essentially the Seeing Dead, but for Flak. On top of that, or I'm sorry, that works on any enemy, first of all. Second of all, the second ability is whenever Flak shoots a boss, they are treated as normal enemies, which has a lot of synergy with his skills, like Hunter's Eye, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, this is where my knowledge lacks a little bit. But it has a lot of synergy with Flak's skill tree, and it essentially gives him bonus bossing damage, which Flak is known as one of the best bossing characters because he can just put out so much freaking damage. On top of that, just activating all his kill skills all the time is super, super powerful. Absolutely game-changing, absolutely powerful. You can use it to just mow down enemies, and it's really, really awesome. Next, we have the Trainer class mod. We're going to go ahead and give this an F tier. The skills on it are pretty poor, and the ability of it is not good at all. Basically, whenever Flak's pet kills an enemy, instead of killing that enemy, you now dominate that enemy. Number one, Flak's pet doesn't kill enemies very often. In a fully pet-centered build, you can get Flak's pet to start killing enemies, but why do you want to dominate them? And then on top of that, it's only a 25% chance to dominate them, which is like, just add fuel to the shit fire that this class mod is. It's really hilarious that the devs actually came up with this ability and put it into a DLC class mod and expected players to be really excited about it. But hey, it is what it is. It's an F tier class mod. Let's go ahead and move on. Next, we've got the Cosmic Stalker. Now, I'm actually going to rate this as an A tier class mod, and I'm going to compare it right now to the Zayn class mod, the Executor. The Executor is an A tier class mod for Zayn, or like the Kensai for Amara. The Cosmic Stalker is very, very cool. It's a very strong damage increase, but at the same time, it's not exactly game-changing in my opinion, so I don't think it deserves an S tier, but it is very freaking powerful. It just adds a buttload of damage to Flak, and yeah, once you stack up your kill skills on Flak, you will. I'm pretty sure this is one of the highest damaging class mods, but you have to go through the actual phases of actually stacking up your damage. What's more game-changing than that is skipping those phases and immediately getting a ton of stacks of damage, which the Bounty Hunter gives you. And the amount of damage that the Bounty Hunter gives you is more than enough for any enemy in the game. Whereas when you're using the Cosmic Stalker, you will technically get more damage than the Bounty Hunter, but you have to stack it up yourself. So if you get what I mean, this allows you to kind of skip stacking it up. That's why it's a little bit better, in my opinion. Next, we've got the Deadeye class mod for Flak. I'm going to rate this as B tier. The Deadeye class mod is pretty cool because it gives him V2 when enemies are above 75% health, and you can also get 2 Fang, which is a skill on this class mod that gives you extra projectiles. This is essentially very good for sniper builds and rocket launcher builds, but you know, it's not very versatile otherwise. and you can still make a sniper and a rocket launcher build on Flak with some of his better class mods that are more versatile. So I'm going to rank this at B tier because it is pretty cool, but it's not more powerful than another class mod. It's also not super game changing. Next, we have the Friend Bot. Now the Friend Bot, I actually give a C tier. The ability on this is whenever Flak kills an enemy, their pet gains a second wind, and you get a little bit of pet damage. Now the skills on this, I believe you're just looking for a Barbaric Yop, which is the blue skill right here. I think I called a different skill earlier, Barbaric Yop, but that was actually Eager to Impress on the Red Fang. Anyways, the Friend Bot, it's actually pretty cool because the ability on it honestly isn't half bad. Flak has so much damage anyway that you're not necessarily always missing the damage that you're losing by wearing this class mod instead of a different class mod. And keeping your pet alive at all times can be pretty strong when you have the skill in Flak's Green Tree that your pet revives you. It's pretty clutch. It's like, it's really not as bad as people make it out to be, but it's also just not that good. So yeah, we're gonna give it a C tier. Next, the Peregrine class mod. Now I am actually gonna put this at S tier. What this class mod does is it turns Flak's grenades into frickin' fighter jets that shoot grenades. Whenever Flak hits an enemy with a rack, they're automatically hit by a grenade you have equipped. Now, this class mod is pretty narrow. It is only good with the Fish Slap grenade, with the Gas Call grenade. It's pretty decent with light speeds. There's not really many grenades otherwise that this is actually good with. But when you are using those grenades, it creates a very unique build and a game-changing build, in my opinion, and a very different way to play Flak that I think is really awesome and unique and game-changing enough that I want to rate this very highly. Now, those same builds, pretty much we're talking about Rack Stab by Quag. Shout out to Quag. He's a Twitch streamer, QUAG. Go check him out. He makes Flak builds and Amara builds, and he's awesome. He made the Rack Stab build, and the Peregrine class mod is really awesome on that build. Now, Rack Stab would be fine with different class mods, but my favorite class mod to run with that build is the Peregrine, because getting extra Fish Slaps out there is so cool and so powerful, and just, I don't know, this class mod is so unique and different that, honestly, it deserves A tier. By my definitions, but I want to rank it as S tier because it's just that cool in my opinion, and it's extremely unique. Honestly, by my definition though, it is probably an A tier class mod because it's not very versatile. Kind of like the Stackbot. Honestly, it's very similar to the Stackbot in a lot of ways, where you do get a crazy build out of it, but yeah, it's not super versatile. Next, we have the Rack Pack class mod for Flak. I'm gonna rate this as a B tier. This class mod used to be pretty cool when it first came out. Now it's just outdone by like the Peregrine. Basically what this does is whenever Flak's racks hit an enemy, they split off and hit more enemies. This was really cool with the V2 rack anointment, where whenever an enemy was hit by a rack, they take bonus damage. So this was pretty cool with that anointment when it first came out for Old Mayhem 4. But this class mod, once again, is not very versatile. It is pretty cool with some of the skills it rolls on it. And you can also use this class mod for Rack Stab, and it's pretty good for Rack Stab as well. But yeah, I think it deserves a B tier slot. And you know, my knowledge is a little bit limited when it comes to Flak, so we're just gonna go ahead and move on. Next, we have the Rat Commander. We're gonna rate this at C tier because this class mod is actually useful for, once again, the Rack Stab build. But some of these other class mods are way better. What the Rat Commander does is it only gives Flak an extra rack. Jesus, it's so hard to say Flak and Rack in the right order so many times in a freaking row. But anyways, this class mod is actually useful for the Rack Stab build. You can actually use it for that build if you get enough points into Eager to Impress, and some good skill rolls on the bottom. So it's not completely useless, but there's definitely better options, and it's not your best option for that build either. And yeah, so we're gonna rank it as C tier. And finally, we get to move on to Mose. Now, I like a lot of the Mose class mods. What I think Mose, like one awesome thing about her character is how versatile all of her different class mods are, and most of them are really good. A lot of them are not really that bad. Now, where my knowledge lacks on Mose class mods are the Iron Bear class mods. So let me go ahead and move these to the bottom. I do not have, I have played a decent amount of Mose and I have some good knowledge with her, but I have never played an Iron Bear build with Mose. I've never played like a hop in Iron Bear and stay in Iron Bear forever. I've never done that on Moze, so I'm not actually sure which of her class mods are the best for a pure Iron Bear build. And once we get there, I'm just gonna kind of toss them in. So first up, let's talk about the Rocketeer. This class mod is S tier. What the Rocketeer does is it makes Auto Bear last for the duration of Iron Bear. So it essentially gives you 2 minutes of Auto Bear. And then it's not hard to get your Iron Bear back in that time because the cooldown starts to reset. So what's awesome is you can have a permanent Auto Bear with this class mod. Now this is absolutely game changing because Iron Bear and Auto Bear is so damn powerful. With all the mayhem scaling it gets and all the Iron Bear damage in Moze's skill tree, you can make Auto Bear wreck for you. You can AFK the game. You can hop in freaking Daka Bear and just let your Auto Bear do Guardian takedown all by himself, Malawan takedown all by himself. That is absolutely game changing. That is just absolutely like supremely powerful. You can solo raid bosses and it's pretty crazy. On top of that, this rolls Skagden, which gets mayhem scaling. Skagden is what? 900 or 500% fire damage. You can get 500% fire damage on a class mod plus permanent Auto Bear. That is just freaking insane. Even if they removed mayhem scaling from Skagden and nerfed it, this class mod would still be game changing in my opinion. Absolutely S tier and one of my favorite class mods for Moze. Next, let's talk about the Sapper. Now, this is actually one of Moze's worst class mods in my opinion because it offers 0 damage. Moze gets so much damage from her class mods, it's insane. But I am actually going to do an unpopular thing here and rank it as B tier. Moze has so much damage in her skill trees anyway that it kind of doesn't matter, and the Sapper class mod can make you live forever. Now, because what this does is the longer Moze fires her guns, she gets lifesteal. So essentially, Moze has infinite magazines with her green tree. You just fire your guns forever and you never die. And that is a very powerful effect in my opinion. But if you're a very experienced Moze player, you should pretty much have no problem dying anyway without the Sapper class mod. But it still is a powerful effect in my opinion. Lifesteal is really freaking strong in this game. We all have to admit that. So I'm gonna rank it as B tier. Now let's talk about the Blastmaster. I'm gonna rank this as this is between A tier and S tier. Honestly, the Blastmaster is just a very solid class mod. It offers 100% splash damage as long as you never reload your guns, which is not too hard at all. So what this class mod does is it doesn't offer anything unique. It's not super game changing. It is because of the damage it offers. It's basically like old reliable. It's like the Transformer shield. It's a boring freaking shield, but it always works. It's gonna keep you alive for a long time, and it is reliable. That's what the Blastmaster is. So I kind of want to give it A+ instead of S tier, because like it is game changing because of how reliable it is, but that's kind of boring to me. I never really use the Blastmaster when I play Moze, but it kind of does deserve those high tier spots. Next, let's talk about the Bloodletter. Now, the Bloodletter I am gonna rank as A tier. Now, I have a pretty unique take on this. Okay, so it's not that my take is unique, but it's not mainstream. This class mod is kind of a trap in my opinion. I think if you're using this class mod for pure damage, you're not using this class mod correctly, and that is the trap. So let's talk about what this class mod does. If Moze would be healed, instead of healing her, it actually regens her shields. On top of that, the lower your health is, you gain a bunch of damage, and you also gain shield delay and recharge rate, whatever. And on top of that, I'm sorry, this class mod rules desperate measures. Okay, I butchered the explanation of that. But if you're watching this video, you should already know what this class mod does. Essentially, this class mod is a trap in my opinion, because as a pure damaging class mod, I think it's one of her most mediocre. All this does is offer 100% gun damage. The Blastmaster offers 100% splash damage, which double dips short fuse, which is gives you Iron Bear damage on her. It's super insane. Whereas 100% gun damage, which in Moze's red tree, she gets a lot of gun damage, gets a bit of diminishing returns and stuff like that. If you're using this for pure damage, I think it's a trap because you also have to fall under health gate to fully utilize this for all of its gun damage. And that's why I think that's a trap. Where this class mod excels is in very cool builds like Psychotic Wolf's Slam Cannon. Psychotic Wolf is a Twitch streamer who streams a lot of Moes, and he made this build called Slam Cannon, where he found an interaction between the Frozen Snowshoe and the Launchpad artifact, where the Launchpad fully depletes his shield, creates the Cryonova, and then he instantly fills it back up with the Bloodletter. That is a cool interaction, and that's how you should be using your Bloodletter. Infinite amp damage, where you can use an amp shield in your Bloodletter and healing to get like infinite amp shots on a fully auto weapon. That's where you should be using the Bloodletter. Very gimmicky, unique, powerful things you can do with the Bloodletter rather than just getting a mediocre 100% gun damage. It's not worth it to just get some gun damage. You want to gimmick it, you want to break shields, you want to do stupid things with this class mod, and that's why it's A tier. If you're using this for pure damage, it's easily just B tier, but for those gimmicky builds, it's easily A tier. Now let's talk about the Flare class mod. This is an S tier class mod for Moes, but you need the purple skill tree. Basically what this does is it gives Moes a multiplicative 100% damage while Iron Bear is active, and I believe it's based on the total fuel. Essentially what you can do with this class mod and Iron Cub is while Iron Cub is active, it'll give Moes the 100% multiplicative damage bonus. Now what's so amazing about that is, like the Blastmaster, this double dips with short fuse. It basically synergizes with everything that Moes does, and on top of that, it's very versatile because it's also Iron Bear damage, and it is the most powerful Iron Bear damage because it's just a fully multiplicative bonus. So this class mod is insanely game-changing, insanely cool, and it also boosts things like melee, honestly, that the Blastmaster doesn't, and it's just a better bonus. Like if you compare 100% Blastmaster to 100% Flare, 100% Flare wins every time. It's actually that crazy. Next, we have the Green Monster class mod. This is a B or a C tier class mod for Moes. I'm going to rank it at B because this is one of my favorite class mods for Moes. And that's because I played the game when DLC 1 came out, and the game was very different. You know, before 5 DLCs came out, the game was a lot more basic when there was only one DLC, and this was a really cool class mod that came out at the time. What this does is give Moes 100% bonus corrosive damage the longer she fires her weapons. Now what this also does is it secretly gives her 100% splash damage for her grenades and her Iron Bear the longer she fires her weapons as well. So this is a pretty cool class mod. It's pretty unique, but it's not overly powerful. It's only worth a B tier in my opinion. Next, we have the Minesweeper class mod, which is another S tier class mod for Moes. What this does is whenever Moes scores a critical hit, it has a 25% chance to make a grenade. Now, Moes has a skill, Pull the Holy Pin, which allows her grenades to crit. So what you can do with the Minesweeper is create a chain of grenades that become stronger and stronger every time they trigger. Technically, you can go infinite with this grenade, technically, although it's very unlikely, but technically you can literally do infinite damage with a Minesweeper and Moes, and that is insanely awesome. It gets it gets more and more damage every single time. So for example, let's say you trigger a grenade that does 100 damage. That grenade crits on Moes, and it triggers another grenade. This grenade, the new grenade, will get all of your splash applied to it again and all of your grenade damage applied to it again. So let's say you have 100% splash damage. Your first grenade does 100. It triggers a second grenade. This gets another 100% splash damage, so now it's at 200. This triggers another grenade. It gets another 100% splash damage, so it's at 400. And it basically just stacks upwards and upwards and upwards and just does insane amounts of damage. Absolutely game-changing and really cool. Now we have the 3 Iron Bear class mods. Now, my Moes knowledge lacks. Essentially, the Eternal Flame, it makes Iron Bear last forever. Whenever Moes ignites an enemy, she resets her action skill entirely. This is really cool for Moes. I'm just going to put it at A tier. Bear Trooper, it decreases Iron Bear's fuel use, and it just makes Iron Bear run better. We're going to put this at A tier. And the Raging Bear, whenever Iron Bear kills an enemy, it gains more fuel, and whenever it takes damage, it gains more armor, blah, 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 blah. We're going to put this at A tier. Essentially, you can make a whole Iron Bear build on Moes. I'm sure some of these deserve to be S tier, but I have never done this, and my knowledge on this really lacks, so I'm sorry about that, but this part of the video sucks. And so yeah, we're gonna rank those at A and S tier because they are very strong class mods at the end of the day, and they do create new play styles. So with that being said, it looks like we are done with our tier list. Let's go ahead and count up how many S tier everyone has. Amara has 1 S tier that I ranked. Zayn has 2 S tier. Flak has 2 S tier, and Mose has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Mose has some of the best class mods in the game. The other characters definitely have some great ones. I would say Amara probably has the most A tier class mods. A lot of you can make some arguments that Amara should have another S tier class mod, and I think that's fine. But Amara has a lot of really strong, just like medium class mods, which are really cool. Zayn has the most F tier class mods, where most of Zayn's class mods don't really do anything. You pretty much always want to use the Spy or See Undead, almost no matter what build you're doing. There's rarely a Zayn build that the Spy and the See Undead is not best in slot on. And yeah, so with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more Borderlands 3 videos. Also, come check me out on twitch.tv/ThiccFilA_. But that's it for the video. Also, comment down below what you think. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.